Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blackhawks Banter, which is, as always, presented by the Hockey Writers. And I have I'm Greg Boysen, your host, and I'm joined by my cohorts over at the HockeyWriters.com, our great Blackhawks writing crew, Shaun Filippelli, Gail, Kauchak, and Brooke LoFurno. How is everybody doing this week?
Woohoo, go Hawks.
Yeah.
All right. Good. This is episode number 53 of Blackhawks Banter, and it's the Nikolai Hobby-Bulin episode. I had to give Shaun some goaltending love there.
I'll take it.
Yes, 53. That was the number he wore the second time he was here when it wasn't quite as good as the first time. So, Blackhawks, unfortunately, we had our first loss in the Derek King era over the weekend, but you know, it pretty much went exactly how I think most of us predicted it on last week's episode. We all thought they're going to beat Seattle and Vancouver and have a tough time with the Oilers, and that's exactly how the week unfolded. But they're 5-1 under Derek King. They have 14 points right now, so they're 6 points behind the St. Louis Blues for third place and 5 points behind a wild card spot. It's never too early to start looking at the standings, especially when you've been going up. But despite the 5-1 record under King, there's still a lot of issues with this team. They're playing better. The results are better, but a lot of the same things that have plagued them before the coaching change are still there. And one of those things we're going to talk about, Shaun, you want to talk about Kirby Dach, who, let's face it, he's not looking like a number one or even a number two center right now. He's got just 3 goals and 8 points in 18 games. And the most alarming, as I'm sure you'll talk about, is his faceoff percentage, 30.9%. That's just not going to get it done. So, Shaun, what are your thoughts on Kirby? And, what do you think? Do we bump him down the lineup? Do we move him to wing? Both? What do we do going forward?
Yeah, great segue. I mean, you hit all the main points on the head, so I won't bother repeating those. But the reality is, for a top-line center, for a kid that the Hawks have been high on for years, and we as a fan base have as well, they're just not getting enough out of him. He's playing the most he's ever averaged in any year. He's playing over 19 minutes a night. And like you said, his point totals are not aligning in that regard. Nor is his prowess at the face-off circle. So the reality is, I think that there might still be an opportunity to help him build on his confidence this early in his tenure. And in order to do so, just drop him down. I think it's kind of simple, really. Just drop him down the lineup, get him onto the third line, perhaps, let him play against other teams' lesser face-off guys, and see if he can build on that momentum instead of putting him against every other opponent's top face-off takers. Let him slot down, let him get some wins under his belt, let him work on those techniques, and then move him back up. See if he can build on that confidence at the dot first and foremost, because that's what he's there to do ultimately. And then as a bonus, he's there to produce. So perhaps if he builds confidence at the dot, he can start to produce a little more. So to me, I think it's really rather simple. Just drop him down the lineup and let him start building his way back up.
Yeah, a lot of times when it comes to face-offs, it's all about, the state of mind. If you're confident at the dot, you're going to win more than you lose more times than not. I don't understand the point of keeping him with Kane and DeBrincat if they never have the puck, and it's kind of pointless to be with your best offensive players if you can't win a face-off. Brooke, where would you put Kirby in the lineup if you were behind the bench? Would you keep him where he's at? Would you keep him at center, but with a different line further down the lineup, or would you even maybe think of taking him out of that until he gets his confidence up and put him on a wing?
My first thought was move him to third line center. That seemed maybe more feasible in my opinion, third or fourth line, but third probably seemed more feasible. But then the more I was kind of thinking about Shaun talking, my thought was, why not move him to wing? I mean, honestly, he's not getting it done as a center. It's not working out so far. So he can't be, obviously center is struggling a lot in general, not just Kirby, but that whole department is kind of struggling right now. And obviously he's not getting it done. So something's got to give there. And maybe if he wasn't struggling so much in the faceoff circle, like Shaun said, maybe that would help him focus maybe on other areas of the game. Maybe that would help. I don't know, but yeah, it can't be worse. I would move him to wing, maybe see if that works.
Yeah, something to get him going in the right direction. Gail, last week I asked you, would you put Dylan Strome between DeBrincat and Kane? You said no. You still feel this way after watching Kirby Dach struggle for another week?
All right, everybody's been calling for it. Sure, what the hell? Give Strome a shot at first line center. See how he does with give him a couple games, I guess, with DeBrincat and Kane. I don't think that that's a long-term solution, but maybe putting Dach down in the lineup, whether it be third, center, second or third line, or on the wing, I think that could build his confidence a little bit. So maybe that's where you, kind of swap the players out and see if Strome can do it. And if Dach gets, looks better with maybe some other line mates, or maybe with a little bit lesser competition on those lower lines. The whole idea is you just need to find the right combination to have more pucks go on net and limit the opponent's opportunities. So maybe Strome's the answer. I guess you just don't know unless you try. So sure.
I think at this point it's worth a shot. I mean, Strome's won 54.1% of his faceoffs on the year, which is far above his career average of 47.3. But granted, it's a smaller sample size. He's only taken 61 draws this season, averaging less than 6 per game. So in a smaller sample, but still, even if he was at his career average of 47%, that's still 17% higher than Kirby Dach right now. So if, the key of with Kane and DeBrincat is to make sure that you have the puck. And if you're not winning draws with those guys out there, then it's counterproductive. Strome, as we've said many times, seems every week we're talking about this. He's not a savior. He's not going to be a Hart Trophy candidate, but it can't be any worse than it is. And he's had his best career success with the Blackhawks playing between Kane and DeBrincat. And for whatever reason, for the last 2 years, they don't want to put him back there. And it's like, again, as we've talked many times, putting players in a position to succeed. If Dylan Strome is best between Kane and DeBrincat and you don't put him there, it's like hiring Jimi Hendrix for your rock band, but forcing him to play trumpet. You got to give him the best available, tools. So yeah, I think it's time for Strome. It can't get worse. We always talk about defensively, they're not going to be that great. Well, not that great defensively with Kirby Dach right now. And if you have Strome, maybe you have the puck more, and then you don't have to worry about, playing so much defense. So it's worth a shot. You can only go up from 30.9% faceoffs. So we'll see. And then this is why I warn people about Lukas Reichel. Everybody wants Lukas Reichel up here because he's doing good in Rockford, but Kirby Dach essentially played no AHL hockey except for a couple games on a contingency stint. Maybe he should have spent more time down there instead of rushing him up, and maybe we'd have different results now. So that's why I caution with the Lukas Reichel to the Hawk stuff. Let him excel at a lower level before bringing him up here. But Kirby Dach is not the only center struggling, as we kind of teased a minute ago. And Brooke, you wanted to talk about your concerns of Jonathan Toews, who is doing a lot this season, except finding the back of the net. He's got 0 goals, 8 points, 8 assists in 18 games, but he's winning almost 58% of his draws. So, Brooke, you wanted to talk about Toews. What would you do to kind of jumpstart him here at this point offensively?
I don't really think there's anything you can do to jumpstart Toews, in my opinion. He's not like Kubalik or like Kirby. He's not a player where if you put him somewhere, he's automatically gonna like rebound or whatever. Like, he's just one of those players that kind of like rejuvenates himself like Kane does. When you're like that elite, you kind of are your own battery in that sense. So I don't really know if there's something, I mean, besides playing with Kane maybe, but they already tried that for a few shifts and that didn't really look much different either. So I don't really know what the answer is there, but it's not even just like goals. I know a lot of people are kind of talking about his goals, but also his face-off percentage the last few games. Ooh, not good. And I know the viewers are going to laugh at me because I'm sitting there, of course, at the games with the telescope looking at the faceoff dot. Sorry, I have to bring it up again. Apologize for that. But he had, I think he only won a little over more than 40% of the draws the last few nights. And against Seattle and Vancouver, that's not very encouraging. So it seems like just a lot of elements of his game are just off. He just doesn't look like the same Toews that we saw earlier this season, who was doing pretty well. So there's a few concerns there, especially because everything else is kind of struggling and he should be kind of like the anchor there, but it hasn't looked good.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like the player we've been used to. Gail, Dominic Kubalik, he's been attached to Toews' hip pretty much all season long. He's going through a major offensive drought too. He hasn't scored in what seems to be forever. Do you think it's time, since neither of them can seem to score a goal right now, do you think it's time to not have those guys on the same line?
Well, if I could just real quick, because I did actually pinpoint this, Brooke go back to the face-offs with Brooke. In the last 3 games, 45%, 40%, and 33% for Toews. So I really think something's up there. He hasn't taken as many draws either. I don't know, maybe he's nursing something because that just does not seem like him. I mean, that's what you count on him for. It just seems a little bit weird to me. But yeah, actually they did split up Kubalik and Toews for this past game against Vancouver. They put Kubalik on the third line so that Strome could go up to the second line. And I wasn't really too happy about it, to be honest with you. Not really so much for Strome. He actually, did pretty well in his elevated role. But you've got one of your best shooters and you've got him on the third line. I mean, we bitched about that all last year and the year before, that you're not utilizing him correctly. And so there's just this conundrum, of where to stick these guys and where to get the best out of everybody. And it seems like somebody's always losing. So you gotta put Kubalik with people that are going to help him with what he's best at, and that's with shooting the puck and getting the puck on net. And Mike Hardman and Henrik Borgstrom are not that right now. So I don't know, maybe you put Kubalik and with Toews and Strome, and then maybe Hagel goes down to the third line. Or if you really are going to put Strome back up on the first line, then you could put Kubalik, Toews, and Hagel back together. Or you got to give Kubalik people on the third line that at least have some offensive prowess that they can build something and be a threat there. So that's my thoughts there.
Yeah, it sounds good, but unfortunately, after the top 6, there's not a whole lot of offensive prowess available. So it's like someone's going to get the shaft and have to play with 2 guys that probably should be in the AHL. But yes, the spoiler alert. We've got more on that coming up. Shaun, I'm going to throw this next question to you. We've talked a lot about putting Strome in between DeBrincat and Kane since he's had success there. What do you think about possibly maybe putting Toews there to kind of get his offensive game going? Do you think that's a good idea, or you just leave it where it is?
I mean, I say why not? I know Brooke touched on this, and it's an important point to make. He's obviously played there a little bit this season already, and it hasn't worked to the kind of plan that obviously the team would hope. But it's a small sample size. I don't even think they played 8 minutes together as a unit to DeBrincat, Kane, and Toews. And the reality is, even in that small sample size, if I'm not mistaken, their Corsi 4 is at about 60%. So they're controlling play. They're doing the right things. Why not give them more of an opportunity and more runway to work with? We've already established, I think we can all agree that Dach needs to be taken off that top line. So who's the next natural replacement? Toews. As you said, Greg, he's winning most of his faceoffs anyway. So get him up there, get the puck more on that line, give it to the guys who you need to be scoring in the DeBrincats and the Kanes, give them more of an opportunity to produce. And ultimately what that's going to do is work to Toews' advantage anyway, because he's going to probably get some assists and be in a better position to pop in his first goal of the year and ultimately do a little bit more with those opportunities. So for sure, get him up there, get him on that line, and see if he can kickstart offense across the board.
Yeah, we're sacrificing the rest of the lines like we just talked about.
Yeah, but you know what? Something's got to give for these guys too, right? If you might as well power up. It doesn't work for every lineup and every franchise, but in what they're dealing with now, why not try it?
I mean, we're a team that's struggling to score 5-on-5, which has been a problem for a couple of years now. So teams that can't score at 5-on-5 shouldn't worry about balance. They should worry about finding a way to score goals. And then once you get the offense going, then you worry about balance. They kind of have it in reverse order. They're looking for something that's not there because they haven't achieved consistent offense yet.
They're limited options, but they're options regardless.
Yeah, so it's not an easy call, but we're going to get more into that here in a minute. But before we keep discussing, what should be a positive episode. We won 2 out of 3 games last week, but we're not always, we're a hard group to please here
we
at
are.
Blackhawks Banter. We want perfection, damn it. But we'll take a break from talking about all the lineup choices or lack thereof. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, on the Hockey Writers YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that already, so you don't miss any of our great shows across the board. Not only Blackhawks Banter, we have a lot of other team-driven shows. We have the Grind Line for the Red Wings and Maple Leafs Lounge. Oilers has their own, a lot of teams across the board. We also have a lot of general shows, Chicks and Sticks, always some great content there from our female crew. We have an NHL rumors show, and I hear good things about that Prospects Corner show. If you want to hear about the future, you should check that out as well. And don't forget, we're also on Discord, the Hockey Lounge. If you're one of those crazy Discord users and you want to join the discussion, you can join us over there, the Hockey Lounge over on Discord. And don't forget to sign up for the Morning Skate newsletter, a really cool feature that gets sent right to your inbox every day by our great crew at the Hockey Writers. You'll get updated on all the stats and news and everything and a lot of cool little tidbits that you can't get anywhere else. So go to morningskate.io to add your email to that list. You won't regret it. Excuse me. So back to the lineup. And it's still a bit, I don't know if confusing is the right word or frustrating. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But there's still a lot of weird decisions being made. We had Saturday against the Oilers, we had both Reese Johnson and Mike Hardman in the lineup, while Henrik Borgstrom and Adam Gaudette, someone who we talk about quite a bit here too, sat and watched. And yes, I don't think Adam Gaudette or Henrik Borgstrom are super difference makers right now, but at least they give you a chance to score as opposed to Mike Hardman and Reese Johnson, especially when you're facing the Edmonton Oilers, one of the top offensive teams in the league. They've got, maybe you've heard of this Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl guys they got. They're pretty good. So maybe you want to get guys that may be able to match them offensively. I know the idea was put some guys tougher to play against to maybe slow them down. Guess what? They both had 2 points. So that didn't work. And you lost by 3. So you know what? I'm sure Mike Hardman's a great kid. I've talked to Reese Johnson in Rockford. He's a great kid, but neither of them belong in the NHL right now. Send them to Rockford, let them play in the AHL. You got to give your guys with offensive talent a chance to win. I mean, they want balance. They want checking. Let's face it, you're not scoring at 5-on-5. You're just not. So get some guys in this lineup that at least is a threat to score. Mike Hardman, Reese Johnson, I don't want to pick on these guys, but they're not threats to score right now. And this is your biggest problem. You've got to find a way to score more goals. So I think, just again, positions to succeed. These are the same problems we were talking about before Derek King, and he's still making some questionable lineup decisions. So we got to do something to get that offense going 5-on-5, and you got to put your best offensive weapons out there, and just not doing it on a night by night scenario. Borgstrom got in on Sunday against Vancouver, but Gaudette didn't even get to play against his former team. That's both games against Vancouver he didn't get to play, and that's a team that you think he'd want to get out there and prove them wrong, and he hasn't had that chance yet. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know. Maybe he really pissed someone off behind the scenes, and we just don't know that story yet. Gail, talking about the lineups, not necessarily the line combinations, but this roster, who we got available to you, who are the 12 forwards you're going to go into battle with on a nightly basis? Don't have to give me their combinations, but who are the 12 forwards you're dressing if it was up to you?
Okay, well, thanks for giving me this question, because I could go on and on and on about this, and I would love to go into the specific lines, and I have some awesome ideas. Oh, that might be an idea for write-up. I could do a post on that. Anyway, okay, so let's, a couple of things I just want to pinpoint here so that I'm not talking forever. Yes, I'm going to get on the Adam Gaudette train along with you. I don't understand what is going on. I don't know why they're not playing him. He keeps on getting scratched over and over and over, even in Vancouver, and you think he's going to get in and then he's scratched. So you don't know what you have in him unless you play him. So not just here or there. I think that they need to make a commitment to Gaudette, just like they kind of did to Strome, and say, okay, show us what you got. Give him 2 or 3 games in a row, unless he's totally stinking it up, right? And put him on the third line. Don't stick him on the fourth line. Put him at least on the third line with some other maybe playmakers, so that he has this chance to succeed and maybe show his strengths and show, hey, here's what I can offer that Mike Hardman and Reese Johnson don't, or even what Henrik Borgstrom doesn't. So I guess to answer your question, and I'll just make one other little point about another player, is I would definitely go with, you got your regular top 6 of Kat, Strome, Kane, Kubalik, Dach, Gail, right? Toews. I would play Gaudette. I would probably move up Philip Kurashev. And then I would probably, you have Carpenter and Kara. By the way, Juhar Kara wins faceoffs. He's pretty good at those darn things. So I don't know about that. Maybe he goes at center. And then probably Borgstrom. So I just named right there with Gaudette and Borgstrom, and everybody else that has been playing would kind of be probably my top 12 that I would stick with, and then work with the combinations.
Patrick Kane is actually won, I think, like 100% of the face-off draws. I think so.
Well, DeBrincat does too.
Yeah, and so does DeBrincat. Yeah, what the heck?
Not a good sign when your wingers are winning more faceoffs than your centers, percentage-wise. I do like keeping Carpenter and Kara out there for your fourth line. They're both very good defensively, and on the PK, and give you those guys that are tough to play against. So since you already have those 2 guys, you don't need Reese Johnson and Mike Hardman. You can't win with 5 guys that are checking forward. Sorry, just not in today's game. Today's game is about scoring goals. That's how you win in today's NHL. Shaun, Gail got the forward, so I'm going to go defensively to you. Calvin DeHaan was banged up a little bit there, but he came back. But there was another injury, Riley Stillman, who hasn't exactly been setting the world on fire anyways, but he looked to suffer a pretty nasty knee injury there, not thanks to his teammate Eric Gustafsson, but we won't get into that. So going forward now, if you had to dress 6 defensemen available to you, they can also be guys that were in Rockford right now. Wyatt Kalnut got called up today. No surprise there. Who are the 6 defensemen you would dress going forward?
First of all, DeHaan's a warrior, and just to see the level he's brought his leadership to has been remarkable this year. So that's been fun to watch. On that note, he's got to be in that 6. So I'm going to go DeHaan Murphy. I want to leverage their experience and their familiarity with the franchise. Then I want to get the brothers together. I want to get Caleb and Seth on the same line, see what they can do, see if there's sort of an innate chemistry between the 2 of them, if they can elevate and help each other. And then, like you mentioned with Kalanick, he's already up. Let him stay there. And then another one of his partners from last year, let's get Mitchell back up here and see what he can do, because obviously anybody's going to be an upgrade on Gustafsson, but I've been high on Mitchell, as most of us have been, and I just want to see him play at the pro level and see what he can do with that kind of an opportunity. So let the kids pair together and see what they can make of that opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Stillman, they didn't give a timeline, but it's probably going to be a couple of weeks at least. But again, as I wasn't too impressed with him, to me, he seemed to just be a poor man's Nikita Zadorov, where he was just skating around trying to hit somebody while the puck's going in the back of his net. I don't know if that was what he was told to do or what, but it just wasn't that impressive. I definitely like Kalnut coming up. I saw him play 3 of his 4 games with the IceHogs in person. He looks good. He's skating with confidence. He's just so good with the puck. Another guy I would like to see back up with the Blackhawks and get a real chance, and he might under King, because King's a big fan of his, is Nicholas Bodine, who's playing really well in Rockford. He's another year older, knows the game a little better, and he's kind of added a little bit of some snarl to his game this year. He actually leads the Ice Hogs in penalty minutes, which is a little strange, but he's been mixing it up and getting a little physical. So that's a new aspect to his game that could help him go a little long way. So I'd like to see him get up here and get some playing time eventually. I think that will happen at some point. Brooke, sticking with our lineup, we'll end this one with you. We got to talk about your former favorite Blackhawk, Alex Nylander. He's another guy that's been down in Rockford, and he's been playing pretty well. He's doing good on their top line along with Lucas Reichel and Brett Conley. Would you give him a look? Get him back up here as long as he's healthy, which I think he is. Would you get him and put him in there, maybe the third line, to see if we can get any kind of 5-on-5 offense going?
Okay, so I'm going to bring this up again, but for the viewers who don't know, I brought up in one of our earlier shows for the 2020-21 season that that Nylander was going to be the breakout Blackhawks player, and then he had knee surgery and was out. So now that's like the big inside joke now. But yes, I really do. I was excited that you asked me this question, Greg. You know he's my everything. But I think I actually kind of would, to be honest. Like we just said, this team can't score goals. I think they only average a little bit over 2 goals a game at most. And that's not feasible going forward. It works for other opponents like Vancouver and Arizona because they're a little bit worse than us. But yeah, I kind of would. I think anything goes at this point. Like you said, see what you have at least. I mean, like you guys said, he's not going to be Patrick Kane, but can it be worse, honestly? Like something's got to give. Whether it's him or Reichel, I don't even care. Anyone.
Yeah, he at least gives you the threat of scoring a goal every once in a while. There are too many guys in this lineup right now that when they have the puck, it's not going to be a goal. At least with Nylander, there's a chance he'll score a goal. Some of these guys, there's no chance. And I'm kind of tired of just wasting puck possession with guys that can't score. You got to score to win. It's been the object of the game since it was invented. You got to score goals to win.
Right.
All right, we're gonna move on to Gail's topic. She had us all write up in our Blackhawks Banter preview post this week that you can check out over at thehockeywriters.com every Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on when we get our act together. Every week we'll release a Blackhawks Banter preview post where we'll kind of give you a sneak peek of what we're going to talk about on each episode, so you can kind of have an idea of what you're getting yourself into before you hit the play button. And this week, Gail, you wanted to help bring in the holiday season. For those of us down here in the States, of course, our Thanksgiving is this Thursday. Of course, Shaun, you guys had yours a few weeks ago. So our Canadian listeners have already celebrated Thanksgiving, but this is a big week for us. And we wanted to talk, Gail, you wanted us to mention and be positive about things we're thankful for. So I thought this was a good way to kind of wrap up. We've been talking about a lot of things we're not happy with. So let's talk about things we are happy with. So Gail, you lead us off. You wanted us to spread some Thanksgiving cheer. So what are you thankful for heading into the holiday?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I am happy for DeBrincat. DeBrincat does it all. Let's face it, he has been on fire lately. So he is merely 5'7", 165 pounds. Drafted second round, 39th overall, 2016, NHL draft. A lot of people, because of his size and just basically average speed, not a whole lot of people really thought that DeBrincat was going to amount to much in the NHL. Well, boy, did he prove them wrong, right? Rookie season, when he was 20 years old, made the team straight out of training camp, never looked back. He didn't spend any time in the AHL, straight to the NHL. Finished the season with 28 goals, which has actually led the team. It was one more than Kane's 27 tallies. Didn't have that sophomore slump, 41 goals in his second season, 2018-19. And last season, 32 goals, which was also first on the team. So this guy knows how to score goals. He's with his 5th season now with the Blackhawks. And he's really turned into quite the all-around player. I think, we knew he could score goals. He scored goals in junior as well. But now he's definitely grown the defensive side of his game. He has a high hockey IQ. There's always a threat for him to score and be the playmaker, not always score the goals. They trust him on the the penalty kill now to basically defend. Plus, there's the extra added IQ, hockey IQ that he has from playing on the power play, where he kind of understands the other side of things, and he can strip the puck and get breakaway chances going the other way to get shorthanded goals. So this little guy is doing it all. Not to mention alternate captain, and he's not afraid to drop the gloves. I'm sure anybody that watches the games on every night knows that he took on Seattle Kraken's Yanni Gord, and he said that his reason for fighting was he punched me in the head and went after Kaner and cross-checked him. You go after our best player. We can't let that happen. And the reason that I wanted to close out with that quote is because I think many people would argue right now that DeBrincat, not Kane, is your best player right now. So good for him, and I'm happy that he's around.
If he ever wants to have someone write a biography about him, I'll give him your number because you've got it covered. And you kind of right about one thing. It is a little weird because for so long, a lot of people have said that DeBrincat's just riding on Patrick Kane's coattails, and that roles might have switched a little bit here because now I think DeBrincat's the bigger threat on that line. It's not that much of a separation, but you brought up a good point there. Shaun, what are you most thankful for the Blackhawks here in late November?
Well, I mean, I know it's your guys' Thanksgiving down there, but I'm going to have to stick ironically, with a Canadian, and that was not done on purpose. But I'm most thankful that the happiest athlete in the NHL, Marc-Andre Fleury, is finally back to smiling. Obviously, it was a little bit of a tumultuous situation with him coming over to Chicago in the first place. We all saw how that played out, and it wasn't a very fun situation for him. But when the dust settled, he seemed to have a smile on cue when he landed in Chicago. He told the world he was there and ready to play. And all seemed to be going well. Preseason, he seemed good to go. He seemed like he was in a good place, and he seemed ready to play with this team. Obviously, the season didn't start well for anybody, including Fleury, and he's part of the blame there. And as a result, we started to see that smile fade quite quickly, quicker than I've seen. And he's been one of my favorite goalies in his tenure, in his almost 2 decades in the league. So that was concerning. That was concerning to see for a number of reasons, never mind just for the Blackhawks' sake, but just for his sake. I mean, we've said that he deserves to be put in the best positions possible for all the success and all the perseverance and all the sustained performances he's put into this time. He just deserves to be happy the whole way through, especially being the happy-go-lucky guy he is anyway. So they finally turned a corner, him included. He's won 4 straight now. His first shutout over the weekend. I believe he stopped 135 shots of 140. So it's not just that he's getting wins and riding the coattails of his offense, because as we've spoken about, that's not what's happening. But the reality is he's happy. He's happier. The smile's back. And that obviously plays into his abilities, plays into his performances, and that's going to help the Blackhawks. So keep him happy, because not only does that mean that we get the best out of Fleury and we get to see the best version of him, but it's going to help the Blackhawks win along the way too.
If he's happy, we're happy.
Hey, Flower.
It's amazing what a couple of wins can do to somebody's outlook. And then, happy players are usually productive players. And I love his relationship with his goalposts. I get a giant kick out of that. I love that. They need to show that every time.
He's so
good.
pure.
It's good stuff.
Pure,
yes.
We are a weird breed.
We need more goalpost bromances in the NHL.
Yes.
Brooke, even though your background there has kind of a springtime Easter feel right now, what are you thankful for here for Thanksgiving?
I said Patrick Kane. I feel like that's kind of an easy answer, but it's true. I mean, he's still kicking it. I mean, he's still kind of the offensive engine of this team. He sets people up. Usually when his line is out there with DeBrincat, you always think it's an automatic goal. That's probably the most dangerous line the team has at the moment. And, he's still chugging along, and he's still probably one of the best players in the whole league. He still leads the team in points. And you know what? I'm just thankful that we can continue to kind of see that greatness year after year, even though he's getting older. It's like, wow, this guy still has it. So you know what? I'm always thankful for that, and that we've been able to see him play for so long. So hopefully to many more too.
It's definitely a guy that I think fans take for granted every once in a while, that they just expect him to be great, and they don't realize how hard that is at his point of his career to still perform at such a high level. I decided to be thankful for, well, not decided, I am thankful that the Blackhawks have finally moved on from the Stan Bowman and Jeremy Colleton era. It's long overdue that there's a change of direction in this team. I wasn't, obviously nobody was thrilled under the circumstances of Bowman's stepping down. I don't think it should have taken the Kyle Beach scandal for him to lose his job. He should have been gone long before those allegations were even made, just based on performance. The last time the Blackhawks won a playoff series was the 2015 Stanley Cup final. And they haven't been in the playoffs in 4 years. That's not acceptable as a general manager. But what did the Blackhawks do? They promoted him to president and made him his own boss, which was just dumb. So he's no longer here. Jeremy Colleton was a bad hire. I think we can agree on that. Yes, put in a bad position, trying to replace a legend, but he was just too stubborn for his own good. We've talked about that forever. I'm just glad we've moved on. This team has been directionless for a couple of seasons. 2 years ago, it was, hey, we're going to rebuild, so excuse us if we're bad. But then they really didn't do anything a rebuilding team does. And then, of course, this past summer, they all of a sudden signing and trading for all these guys. And now we have deals and contracts that, the next GM has to deal with. So I'm just glad they've moved on. Now, let's see what happens from here. The team doesn't seem to be in a big rush to hire a general manager. As far as we know, they haven't even started a search, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The faster you get somebody in there, the better, especially before the trade deadline and draft. Let him then hire his own head coach. And let's get some fresh, new eyes on this organization. Don't hire from within. I know everybody wants, a lot of people say, oh, Eddie Olczyk's perfect for that job. No, leave him in the broadcast booth. Let's get somebody that is from the outside looking in, get some new eyes on this organization, and give this team and this franchise a direction. Now, whatever that direction may be and however long it may take, just this team has been a boat without a rudder for too long. So I am thankful that hopefully is going to change very soon here, depending on that GM hire whenever it's made. But let's get that done soon, guys, please.
Geez, Greg, you didn't have to go after me and Shaun because we said that we'd take Eddie Olczyk as our general manager. I was like, okay.
I know. I mean, I get it.
People he didn't name us.
I get it. You guys are far from the only two people who want that. I understand that. He's a very knowledgeable guy, but he's just another company guy. He's a Rocky guy. It's not going to change much of anything. So that's why I want someone from outside the organization.
Yeah, I totally get it. You've mentioned weeks, and I mean, how exciting would that be? So I completely.
I would love that. Yeah, so I would love that, which means it ain't going to happen. So let's move on to our final segment of our show, our new weekly tradition, the shootout round, where I'm going to give our feisty panel some 5 questions, rapid fire style. We'll come give you some quick answers as we head in to another week of Blackhawks hockey. We're recording this on Monday evening. You guys will get your first chance to hear that on Tuesday morning. So there's 3 more games. There's 3 Blackhawk games before we get back together and record another episode Tuesday night in Calgary, which is not going to be an easy game. And then they come home and play the Blues and the San Jose Sharks. First look at them this season over the weekend. So out of a possible 6 points up for grabs over the next few days, how many do you think the Blackhawks are going to get? Brooke, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say 4. I see a win against St. Louis and San Jose since they're both kind of up and down.
All right. Shaun, how many points?
Completely agree. 4 against the Blues and Sharks.
Okay. Gail, what do you think?
Ditto on this. Calgary's going to be tough. I don't see that happening, but they always get up for that Blues rivalry. So Friday game, Friday afternoon matinee, and I could see them beating the Sharks. So 4 points, 2 wins.
All right. I'm going to go with 3. I don't think they're going to beat Calgary. Calgary's been really good this year, even though they've been a lot better on the road than at home, but that's still going to be a tough game. I think they'll beat the Sharks. They've played better than a lot of people expected this season. That Blues game, I think they'll get to overtime, but I don't know. Something about that first home game back after a long road trip never seems to go well. Especially it's a weird time. It's at 2:30 in the afternoon, I think. Just, I don't know. That one it makes me kind of itchy. So I think they'll lose in overtime or a shootout that night. So I'll go with 3 out of 6 points, but it's still a lot better than what we were predicting a few weeks ago. All right, round 2 of the shootout. We talked about Adam Gaudette a lot today and in previous episodes. 3 games. How many of those games is he going to dress this week? Shaun, what do you think?
He'll be in for the 2 against San Jose and St. Louis, because after they lose to Calgary, they'll put him back in.
Gail, what do you think? How many games for Gaudette?
Well, if they do what I want them to do, he will dress for all 3 games and have a chance to cement himself in the lineup.
There you go. Are you listening, Derek? Do what Gail wants to do.
Yeah,
Dress the kid for 3 games. It's not that hard.
Come on, Kinger.
I'm pretty sure he listens. He's me and him are like this. He listens.
Yeah.
Brooke, what do you think for Gaudette? How many games?
I'm gonna say 1, either St. Louis or San Jose. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to only get in for 1. I don't think he's going to get in for that Calgary game, and he'll get into one of those 2 home games. And, I think he needs to play consecutive game. We've talked about that. All right. Round 3 of the shootout. Kevin Lankinen played a lot better than what the score looked like on Saturday night. He got kind of bombarded there for about 10 minutes in the first period, but was really good after that. Again, how many starts would you give him this week, even though Fleury has been playing lights out, as we mentioned? Gail, what do you give for Lankinen?
I think you stick with Fleury as your hot hand, so I would just give Lankinen 1 game, likely the Sharks game.
Brooke, what do you think? You agree with that?
Yeah, I think 1 against the Sharks, since that seems to be maybe the lighter opponent.
Okay. Shaun, what do you think? How many
Well,
games this week?
On the outside, I got to go with at most 1. And again, I'll agree that it'll be against the Sharks, but that'll only be, if Fleury doesn't stand on his head against St. Louis and perhaps get another shutout and deserve to just play another one back to back there. So,
I would say 1 as well. He'll get one of those home games. Maybe that Blues game to give Fleury a little bit more rest. We got to remember he's not young as far as hockey players go. So maybe giving him that extra day or 2 of rest in between starts isn't the worst thing in the world. So, but Lankinen will get one of those games at home. Round 4 of the shootout. We already know Seth Jones and Patrick Kane will be representing Team USA at the Olympics. This seems to be kind of a pretty easy question. Do you think Alex DeBrincat has cemented himself on that roster and will be joining them come February? Brooke?
Duh. Yes.
Shaun, I know we're not talking Team Canada, but what do you got nice things to say about an American? Do you? Okay, no, let me change that. I know you don't want him on Team USA, but is he going to make it?
If you want any chance against Canada, then for sure, of course, he has to be on Team USA. Yes, he deserves to be there.
Gail, this was your suggestion, so I think I know your answer. What do you think?
Hell yes. If they don't offer him an invitation, they're just idiots.
Yeah, I agree. He certainly deserves it. He's one of the best American players, and maybe that will make up for not playing him in the World Juniors a few years ago.
Yes.
They owe him one. All right, last shootout round question. If you were watching that game Saturday night, Connor McDavid and Caleb Jones got stuck on the ice for 4 minutes and 50 seconds, which I don't know how the hell that happens. And like the Hardman line was out there for over 3 minutes of that shift. What was the most impressive thing about that ridiculous spectacle we had to watch? Was it not giving up a goal? Was it not taking a penalty? Was it not icing the puck? Or was it only giving up 2 shots on goal in nearly 5 minutes by one defensive pair? Shaun, what do you think?
Only the 2 shots is most impressive. I mean, they're there to limit chances, and that's the epitome of doing so.
Gail, what impressed you most about that ridiculous scenario?
Yeah, this was kind of a fun question. They didn't really have a chance to ice the puck because they didn't have control of it. So I think they would have if they could have. The giving up a goal is on the goalie as well. So I would say the same thing, that the 2 shots on goal is impressive. That means that they were in the right place at the right time, doing the right things for a long time.
Brooke, what impressed you most about that unimpressive scenario?
Not giving up a goal, honestly, was my first thought. I mean, Edmonton is, I think, the 3rd best offensive team in the league, and the Blackhawks like to give up goals. And the fact, I know they hit the goalpost during that time, so thank you again to the goalpost. But yeah, not giving up was honestly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get stuck on the ice for 4 minutes and 50 seconds if you give up a goal. I mean, they would have been pulled a lot sooner. So yeah, I'll also go with the not only giving up 2 shots on goal. That's to get hemmed in your own zone for nearly 5 minutes, only giving up 2 shots, and then to throw in that one of the, I can't remember which forward it was, but one of the guys didn't have his stick for over
Oh,
2 minutes, and
Hartman.
they somehow still only gave up 2 shots on goal. That's almost as mind-blowing as a defensive pair getting stuck on the ice for that long. Crazy. And then we can look back on it that, nothing really terrible happened. So we can kind of laugh about it and have a fun question about it.
Yeah.
But let's not do that again. Because
it just goes to show you that these guys, they're working their tails off. They're trying, they're not just like throwing in the towel. So
I think it was it Murphy that talked about that shift, and he said after like 2 minutes, your heart rate can only go so high, so then you kind of get used to it. And like, I don't know,
we were ready to go in and take his place, give him a breather. We were ready.
Yeah, I mean,
I
just
think that's
watching
pretty
those made me
crazy. I
exhausted.
don't know if it's true, but it's pretty cool thought process anyway.
I mean, he's probably not wrong. I've never done anything that exertive to even come close to
it's a pretty humble reflection on his part, though, because we all know how impressive that was. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, as fun as that is to talk about now, let's just avoid that in the future. Alrighty, that is going to wrap up this week's episode of Blackhawks Banter, the Hobby Bulin episode. Once again, I'm Greg. Thank you to Shaun, Gail, and Brooke for having another great conversation this week. Don't forget, if you're listening at home, to subscribe on YouTube or follow us wherever you are getting your podcasts. We're available everywhere podcasts are available if you want just the audio version. Don't forget to sign up for that morning skate, morningskate.io. Join the conversation at the Hockey Lounge over on Discord, or leave comments on our Twitter feeds and YouTube. We love hearing from you guys. We love interacting with our listeners. And once again, all you Blackhawk fans here in Chicago and in the States, hope you guys all have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday. Be safe and enjoy yourselves, because we want to have you back next week for another great episode. So take care, everybody, and we will catch you back next week, hopefully talking about more Blackhawk wins.
Yes.
Go Blackhawks.